Pulse Cure, and this year I will be talking about the rest cure, hvilekuren, how to find rest because it's so important. But it can be quite hard actually to rest. It's easier often to keep the same speed that I will be talking about here. A little bit about myself. I'm a Norwegian doctor, general practitioner, emergency physician. Been working all over Norway and have more than 100,000 consultations. So I have seen about 1% of Norway's population. So that means that I know a little bit of what makes people sick and what makes them healthy. I also worked in Angola, so I've seen the complete other side of the global health system. What we get sick from and die from are wealth diseases. In Angola, they died from poverty-related diseases. But as you can see here, and what you have heard other people talk about, is that we die from chronic stress-related diseases. The good thing is that we can do something about it. We can regulate our stress levels. And it's not that we are stressing too much, but we are not recovering enough. That is a big problem. When I started researching the book, I thought, where is the most peaceful place? It must be in a monastery. So I went to a Medi-yoga class in a monastery in Italy, expecting to be totally calm and serene and finding, the blissful state of calm. But somehow it was a heat wave and I didn't tolerate the food very much. My blood sugar went high. So even under these circumstances that you see here and on the picture, everything should be really peaceful. But my system was in the fight and flight mode, not because of stress, but because of the food I was eating, because of the blood sugar fluctuations and of the heat wave. So I understood there are lots of obstacles when we need to find rest. And here you can see, from my experience also with the Pulse Cure, is that there are it's a big obstacle in our modern world to find peace. I'm not going to go through all of this. Tina mentioned the menstrual cycle and so on. We have food intolerances, ultra-processed food. You know all of this. You have heard it, throughout the weekend. And the hurdle is big. And the path to rest. On the other hand, you also know very well fasting, breath work, nature, togetherness, silence, living a meaningful and fulfilled life. So the thing is to try to get the hurdle down and our capacity up so that we can take the life we are living and it's sustainable. And if you then have this picture and you ask AI and ChatGPT, how can we get people higher and the hurdle lower? And this is what you get. So they're not always so good, but it's funny. So we can learn from this guy, Winston Churchill, who had the whole, state of the world on his shoulders during the Second World War. He was asked on the street, what is the secret behind your success? Because, he had the Nobel Prize winner, he was a famous author, saved the world from the Germans. What is the secret behind the success? That is energy conservation. Never stand when you can sit, never sit when you can lie down. Because, under the stress of fighting Hitler, still he was able to relax. I've been underneath, in the subterranean headquarters in London, and I could see his bed. And he was there. He had his wife make a one-piece pajamas, so he could go to bed for an hour or 2 hours whenever he could. He actually did that. And even though we are not under the same amount of stress that he was, we also need to learn from him to, just like Emil did, just lie down, do nothing, which can be quite hard. We also have to look at I'm going to talk about measurable rest, what we can measure on our watches and rings. And when we put these devices on hunter-gatherers that still exist today, like in Tanzania and Botswana, these are the Hadza people in Tanzania. How much will they be in the stressful state? You can see here, the yellow here is inactivity. Most of the day, they will be quite inactive, resting, squatting, just talking, lying around doing basically nothing. And maybe for 2 hours a day, they will be in light intensity activity. For another hour and a half, they will be in moderate intense activity. And for just a tiny part of the day, barely visible up here, is vigorous activity. This is the intensity that our physiology is made for. And who will be living like this today? Almost nobody. So we are in too much stress according to what we are built for physiologically. And that wears us down, and it wears our immune system down, so it doesn't work properly. What we have that can help us are the different kinds of heart rate monitors that we can use. I have used all of this. I used this for 2 years. This is a Garmin, Oura Ring, the Whoop band. I can see many people have these gadgets here. I'm going to concentrate on the Garmin here, and where we can see, because Garmin is, in my opinion, the best device to track our health. It will show the blue here is the parasympathetic state. And it's of course so much easier to track our stress levels when we know where they are. You know, as doctors, we like to measure things. And the blue here, that you will see different graphs later on here, is a parasympathetic mode. When we are in the red here, we are in different degrees of the stressful mode. And we have the genius of Garmin then, the body battery system, that goes up here. You're low charging during the night, and it goes down during the day, depending on the stress levels that you experience. Today, you know, yesterday was an evening with a dinner for the speakers, and the food was coming quite late, like at 9 o'clock. I had the dessert at 9:30, and the hotel room that I'm staying at does not have the good low temperature that I now know is the best for our recovery during the night, which should be maybe 18 degrees for maximum recovery. So today it was a bit like this. My body battery was maybe only 55 this morning, which is okay. We can pull out some forces still and get through the day, no problem. Anyway, these different heart rate monitors stress levels. How can that be? And that means that we have like a dashboard into our own health, because the heart rate shows the strain on our bodies and our systems. That is the genius of it. And as important it is to have the dashboard in the car, it's important to have the kind of dashboard in our own health. To understand this, the heart rate variability, we have to take a dive into the autonomic nervous system. The sympathetic part, the mobilizing part, and the parasympathetic part, the restful and the recovery part. And we need to find the balance in this system. The sympathetic part sends nerve endings into all our internal organs, also regulating the immune cells. On the other hand, the vagus nerve sends its nerve endings into all the same organs. So it works, you know, underneath our consciousness. The good thing is that the heart will beat differently whether we are in this state or in this state. And this is the way that we can find out where our stress balance is. And the vagus nerve, luckily, we can have a measurement, because the vagus nerve goes to the heart, and it also goes to all the different organs. And by measuring the heart, we can kind of get a glimpse into the overall function of the vagus nerve, which is we can measure by the heart rate. And here is the differences in how the heart rate will be seen then. In the parasympathetic state, the restful state, there will be a variation between heartbeats. When we breathe in and the lungs fill with oxygen, the heart rate speeds up a little bit to make use of that extra oxygen. When we breathe out and there's less oxygen in the lungs, the heart rate slows down a little bit because there is less oxygen in the lungs. But when we are in the sympathetic state, the stressful state, for whatever reason, whether it's a week before menstruation, you have eaten something you cannot tolerate, been exercising too much, or been drinking alcohol, whatever, you're in the sympathetic stressful state, and the heart beats just like a metronome, like an old-fashioned clock. It's like the organism interprets the circumstances that this is dangerous times. We need to use all available forces, even when there's less oxygen in the lungs. And this is a beauty for a doctor, that the very basic functions of our system, the heart rate and our breath, is what can determine and make it possible for us to see the state of our body, which then is called heart rate variability. So it's good to have access to this state, but we are going to be, fluctuating between these states as a healthy being. We have to have flexibility in our heart rate variability. In the rest cure, in the book Hvilekuren, I'm giving some advices on how to put in small doses of anti-stress, micro rests, just like Melissa Sonners also talked about, these 2-minute rests, maybe 5 times during the day, just like she said just an hour ago. The tricks are usually easy. They're free, accessible to anyone. You can even try them now as you're listening to this. Close your eyes, breathe calmly, identify some sounds around you. Study how the light falls on a nearby object. Or just lie down with your legs elevated, which is also very effective. These things pulls you into the moment and to the presence in the moment. And just 2 minutes of this activity, multiple times a day, is incredibly beneficial for your stress levels. Okay, so what I'm talking about is measurable rest. That you can see it, it's not just a philosophical question. How does it look on the Garmin watch? Okay, so here's one of my followers on Instagram saying, reading books is truly golden when it comes to recharging my body batteries. So she can see here that the blue part here, the body battery charges a little bit, and she does it again and again, and it becomes measurable, and that motivates you to do those steps. And interestingly enough, I think that Melissa Sonners said that when you are reading and your eyes pass through a page, that is calming for your nervous system. I didn't think of that, but so many people tell me that reading is their favorite restful activity. And then you even learn something. So it's not a kind of a wasteful activity. You even learn something as you do it. What we can measure, we can master. So when you have visible results, it motivates. I'm going to read this because you can probably not read this curve here. It says, yesterday, is also from a follower on Instagram. Yesterday I ate food my body wasn't too happy with. Pizza with chili followed by candy, which is probably the worst thing you can do. So you can be sitting there lying, watching Netflix, thinking that you are relaxed, checking off, relaxation, 2 hours. Your heart rate variability shows that you are in the full stress mode if you do this. Just like it shows here, 100% stress, as stressful as it can get. Okay, it resulted in sky-high stress that continued throughout the night. I went to bed at 11 p.m., but around 12:30 a.m. I had to take action since my body couldn't calm down. So I took a cold shower for a few minutes, and my body immediately shifted into rest, and I was finally able to sleep. So of course, you don't want to get up at 12 at night to go into the cold shower. I mean, who would do that? But when you know that this is what can switch it into the parasympathetic mode, then you do it, because you know what will happen after that. And you will get surprises. Here is the curve from my emergency watch. I was working with 65 patients, and then it's in 15 hours. From 8 o'clock until 11:30 here, I was at the ER, working 65 patients that you have to solve all the problems. You would think it's quite stressful. And I used to think that. When I got the monitors, I could see that's the calmest thing I can do. If I want to calm down, I go to the ER, which is kind of absurd. But it's visible. Even here at 12 o'clock, I had to go to a suicide, had to go to the place, talk to the wife and son, and be in the circumstances, but still, it's calm. For me. This is the most important thing that Tina also talked about just a short time ago. To avoid burnout. We're not supposed to use these wearables, being too perfectionistic about it. What we don't want to do is end up outside of the road. We need to stay on the road, and there's some leeway in both ends, but we need to not get into this situation where we are so stressed that the heart rate variability goes down. What you see here is the HRV heart rate variability over time, over a month. So each one of these is 1 day, 1 night with a heart rate variability. It goes from 72, we can see here, and down to probably 50, and it will stay down for a month. This is how burnout looks. And I'm sure that you would never get into a burnout situation without being able to see it on your wearable. So this is the most important thing you can do, and particularly for women, because women are more prone to get into this situation for lots of reasons. It doesn't have the time to talk here, but this is the most important thing it can do. Here is what it looks like if you have complex PTSD. You will have this day and night. That will be terrible to see when you see it, right? It could be stressful just to see the cold hard truth that the heart shows you the state of your body. And here she says, with CPSD, I don't expect the watch to cheer, but going from this before the rest cure to what is now my everyday life on this one is surely something worth celebrating. So here we can see there are improvements, minor, that can be hard to feel, but the heart rate can demonstrate it because it's so much more sensitive than our inward senses that are practically useless when it comes to managing our stress levels. And of course, so many practitioners in different fields use this because when people come back from a sound bath, for example, and they show it and they put it on Instagram that when I went to this kind of sound therapy, this happened. So the clients of the different practitioners, they can see the results themselves, and that is motivating to come back. The sun. I'm presently working on a book called The Sun Cure because the sunshine is so important for our overall health. And it's visible in the heart rate. So when we from Denmark and Norway in the wintertime go to like the Canary Islands, or in this case a friend of mine going to Thailand, it goes from being here and being very, very tired, and the sun comes and it goes up quite high. So that's the sun impact, which is very, very important. Okay, so that was half a minute until 20 minutes. I am on more than 300 podcasts, half of them Norwegian, half of them English speaking from the US and UK. I'm on Instagram if you want to follow me there. And of course here, by my stand over here, I have the Danish versions of these books if you want to buy one to take home. And I'll stay here for another couple of hours, and I can talk about, if you have some questions about what your watch is telling you. And now I have 6 seconds left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, there. So there could be time for a question or two.
No, that's good. Okay, so I think we can have a few questions.
Yeah,
I'm sure there always
I'm fine.
are some. Does anybody have a question? Can we... Yeah, måske du bare lige can you say it out loud, then I can say it?
Why do you prefer the Garmin?
Yeah, that is a good question, which I agree with that one. Why do you prefer the Garmin watch over, let's say, Aura or any other who also measures the HRV?
Because you can see it as, when this person saw that reading is helpful, you see it immediately. When you get the same readings from Aura or Whoop, you're not able to get into the details.
Okay, so it's the level of detail
details and the accuracy.
Okay.
And
have you tried? Are they tested against some clinical?
I'm using.
You're using all three?
Yeah.
At the moment.
Aura and Whoop, and I've tested maybe 15 different devices, and I keep coming back to Garmin. And the thing about Garmin is that they have bought the Finnish company Firstbeat Analytics, and they have put their algorithms into their system and improved it. So that is the thing. Much more accurate. I can see my stress levels in the moment. That is very useful. I can just push a button. My stress levels in the moment is 84. It should be, right, since I'm here.
Out of 100?
Yeah, out of 100.
But look what website. I'm actually on Garmin's website right now. And I'm an official Samsung ambassador. So I'm even considering buying a Garmin watch now, but don't tell anyone.
Yeah, but Samsung is also good.
Okay.
They gave me the same.
Yeah, I have the Ultra watch. I have several watches.
And Samsung is always good, also good.
So the precision of that is also, but it doesn't show you the same level of detail.
Not the same level of accuracy. And if you're lucky to have a pretty balanced system, you don't need this accuracy.
No.
Then the Oura Ring is good enough, the Whoop is good enough. But if you're challenged, for some reason
you need to know where to set in. Okay.
You need the accuracy of this system.
Can you talk about, because a lot of people ask me, I had a friend of mine coming to me actually last week saying that, my HRV is 14. Is that a problem? I was like,
Probably.
I think so, but I don't know, because these are not necessarily absolute numbers, but they're more relative, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so if you establish your baseline with your HRV, and then it suddenly lowers or goes up, or is it also absolute numbers? Like, can you talk about a little bit about men, women, age groups, maybe?
Yeah, it depends on the age. You can Google age and heart rate variability. You will see it goes down quite quick until you're 40, and then it flattens out.
So what's a good age?
What's a good HRV, would be 30 probably. 30, 35 would probably average after that 40 years of age.
So I'm 42 years old.
Yeah.
And mine is 85 so is that pretty good?
That is probably brilliant. Probably brilliant,
okay.
Right? Okay. So and the one with 14, probably bad.
Okay.
All right.
But again, it is also to do with the person itself.
But when you're 14, that is probably not a good thing.
And okay, you didn't talk about, and I'm just going to take it over because I'm super interested in this subject as well. What are top 3 interventions to do when it comes to HRV improvement?
Quitting alcohol, the most powerful thing.
Quitting alcohol.
Unfortunately, I done all the mistakes. I used to drink 2 or 3 drinks. My wife says they were quite big, And
well, you are a doctor, so that's given.
And we were advised to do that.
Yes.
We were advised to 2 drinks for men.
And red wine is fine.
Yeah. And when you see that, and I used to do it after the ER shifts. To calm down.
Yes, perfect.
And when you get the wearables, you see it's the worst thing you can do.
So no alcohol, and it's any form. It's not fermented. It's not better. It's not like a vodka soda. It doesn't. It's just the alcohol.
It's the alcohol that gets transferred into acetaldehyde at night, and that is the problem.
I know the whole shebang.
And also, you need to stop eating maybe 4 hours before you go to sleep. Okay, you need to prioritize sleep. Sleep consistency. Go to bed and get up at the same time every day, as much as you can, and that you have, don't need to do the right thing every day, but like 80% of the days are within what is good and good enough. Perfectionism in this field is not.
So it's fun when you say about the 3 hours, 4 hours before sleep. I think that's probably one of the best overall longevity tips, things you can do that requires literally no money, a lot of effort. Even though you think it's an easy fix, but then you reach to like 9 o'clock and you want to
And
You know.
everything in
Inhale
the
everything in the cupboard.
Everything in the pulse cure and the hvilekur is free. So what you need to stay healthy, to get into your hundreds, and I see patients when they are 100 years old, they have not been doing anything special. They've been living a life in accordance to how we're built.
Okay, last thing to tip for HRV improvement.
Being outside, getting into the sunshine, being out in nature.
My newest obsession is the sun. Like, I mean,
sun?
oh my God.
Yeah.
Do you have?
I want to go back next year, and then I'll talk about the sun.
Are you writing the sun?
The sun cure?
Okay, I need you on my podcast as well.
I'm telling you.
It's so explosive. In my book, I had like a footnote about the sun, and people were out with the fucking hutu and all that stuff. They were like almost killing. And also because when I talk about the sun, people are like, yeah, I know it's important to get sun in the morning, in the afternoon, but surely you're not in the sun during the day between 12 and 3. I'm like, of course I'm in the sun between 12 and 3. That's the only time when there's UVB, and I need that for my D vitamin. So
and many other things.
Exactly, amongst other things, obviously. So people are appalled when you say stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to you having that book.
They think I'm telling people that smoking is healthy.
Yes. Yeah,
it's the same shock.
We'll stand here in 10 years looking the exact same and being right, at least. Thank you so much. A big round of applause. Thank you so much. And you can meet you down there. Thank you so much.